Good afternoon. My name is Wisdom Amouzou, and I'm here presenting on authentic education. I'm the co-founder, along with Nathan Pye-Schmidt, of the HackSchool Collective. So we believe that authentic education is radical, and that's an interesting word to use, especially at this conference. All that word means is we mean it the way Ella Baker meant it, which is that to be radical is to get down to and understand the root cause of a problem. It means existing within an inequitable system and then devising the means to transform that system. And I think when we're talking about education, for me, I think the question that we have to ask ourselves is, what is the most dangerous force on earth? And for me, the first story that I like to tell, and I like to end with this story, is of my father. So I was actually born in Togo, which is in West Africa. And similarly, not similarly actually, this is the house that my father grew up in. Absolutely existing in a community with little to no resources. And the question I asked myself when I was reflecting is, what led him to break that cycle of poverty? So he attends university, right? He attempts to get out of his community, educate himself, and he's lucky enough to find a sponsor. And with that sponsorship, he's able to study computer science. And then he wants to return to his community and devise a solution that can equip his people. But that's much more cost effective, and that doesn't require luck. So I want you to think about what solution you think he brought. And we'll see if you're correct at the end. Now, the second story actually answers this question. And for me, I learned the answer to this question my first year teaching in the classroom. I taught in the far northeast corner of Denver, Colorado, and I was teaching 7th graders. And I asked them to complete this sentence starter. What is something most people don't know about you? And their answers forever changed my teaching praxis and my radical vision for education. 11 and 12-year-olds answered, something most people don't know about me is about 3 years ago, my parents were deported. Most of my family has gone to jail at least once. I once lived in poverty with my old man. After you read about 110 of these, you see the same pattern, pure social misery. And I taught 12 minutes away from where I went to middle school myself, so I understood it deeply. It was trauma. And it led me, honestly, to get scared because I imagined what we all know about trauma. It's cyclical. And of course, they were existing in a school system that was doing nothing about that trauma. As an educator, was failing to recognize that trauma, help them heal that trauma, and then transform that trauma into action that could actually liberate their community. So for me, the most dangerous force on earth is not pain or trauma, it's unhealed pain or unhealed trauma. We internalize it and we repeat it. If to be radical is to get down to and understand the root cause, then we need solutions in education that actually do something about the trauma impacting my community. That's our goal at the HackSchool Collective. HackSchool is a half Korean, half Ewe phrase. That's one of the languages spoken where I come from. And that phrase just means to humbly offer a solution. So what do? We create centers in pre-existing high school. We're currently running 3. And separately, we're creating our first authentic center-based high school that's launching fall 2019. So what the hell does that mean? Cool. It's best told through a story. Anahi, she shows up at our first center. She's an undocumented student. And basically, she has access to a 3D printer, a socially conscious makerspace, laser cutter, robotics, coding. And what she wants to do is design a smart cane for the blind. So she builds that cane, and she writes the program half in English, half in Spanish. All that matters is that it works. And as a result of her work, she's nominated as one of 11 kid science advisors for President Obama. Now she's in conversations with a manufacturer for the visually impaired that's interested in buying her product. Misery to agency. Her center is called HackSchool. A center is basically an educator, an industry expert, and a student all collaborating to solve a real-world problem. The educator does the hard part of linking that authentic experience to the common core standards that we know they need to master. And the student is just engaging in authentic work, grounded in their reality. Our second center, the tools are a little different. Now the tools are literacy and social activism. We have a group of high school seniors. They win a $10,000 grant, and what do they want to do? They want to start the first student-led writing center and empower other students in their community to become agents of social change. Cool, that's rhetoric. We've all heard it before. What does it look like? Well, students organize writing workshops. Students organize a youth-led healing circle for their community after a traumatic event happens. Students offer push-in support for their literacy teachers. Students peer tutoring other students, right? Through that work, they actually master some of the literacy standards they need to hit, and then they begin to internalize the need to actually push their education, right? When education matters, you can actually develop a love for learning. If it's only for love, well, there's no love for a test. If it's only to show your results for a test, it's less inspiring. Another iteration of this is a group of high school seniors who wants to design and deliver their own empowerment curriculum. Once again, we have literacy, we have social activism. They read, they break down their experience, they attend professional development with other adults in their community, they engage the community, identify needs, and next week they'll be delivering their first prototype. We call this center Street Knowledge. If you remember HackSchool, technology, Street Knowledge was literacy, social activism. Our third center, Mundo, is opening this fall with Campus Montessori. Now the tools are the environment, things like wilderness survival training, farming. The last two centers, one will be on the arts and music, the last one on wellness. And essentially, once we have our Fab Five, our students will not be spending an hour in English, an hour in math, an hour in science, an hour at lunch, an hour at art, an hour at music. Yes, very much so killing the soul. Instead, they'll be spending up to 6 months interacting in different centers, solving real-world problems. I'll finish with my father. The solution that he started about 20 years ago was starting a school in our community. In 15 years, they educated about 1,500 people, equipping them with the computing skills to participate in the new economy in a developing country in the middle of West Africa. Told another way, if the most dangerous force on earth is unhealed trauma, as someone who comes from some of these communities, it's key that solutions in education are actually radical, which just means addressing that root cause. We believe authentic education actually has the power to do so. In one generation, my father is able to break a cycle of poverty. Just imagine what we'll be able to do. Thank you for listening.